How many thumbs up can Justin get on this hunt? Justin finally not putting down a 3.5-year-old.
I'm just trying to do better than your graph.
You did.
I killed it. He may not score more than your deer, but he was definitely older than your deer.
Hey, I'm happy for it. It's a good buck.
I think we're kind of even now, right? I killed this deer, I think, as a 4-year-old.
No, we're not even. I'm 2 does behind.
No, but I think he's a 4. Yeah, but does don't count, right? So if he's a 4-year-old and I killed myself a 2-year-old in Wyoming,
that was a 1-year-old dude. No way.
I got 6 years, and you killed 2 3-year-olds, so we're even. We're tied. We got 6 years.
I want you guys throw up his Wyoming. That was a 1.5-year-old. There's no way. I'm giving you 2.
He was 100-inch, 102 inches.
Oh man,
there's no way. There's a 100-inch year-and-a-half-old in Wyoming.
I'm sure Dustin, you've already talked to, so I'm going to lose this bet even if I try to get him involved. But the most important thing is Justin does shoot an absolute great deer right now. So enough with the chitter chatter. Let's jump into a stand with Justin and see how he does.
Let's do it. Well, good afternoon. It's Friday, November 22nd. Got home from Wyoming on Wednesday and haven't unpacked any of my gear. It's all in the back of my truck right now. And I decided to go hunting this afternoon because it is a beautiful afternoon, 34 degrees, sunny, high pressure. Just seems like a good afternoon. It is the first day of firearm season here in Illinois, but luckily I have got a spot in Lake County, which is the suburbs of Chicago, that is off limits to gun season. So a bow-only county, which means I do not have to wear orange or pink. So I am going to head out to that farm and give it a sit this afternoon. There's 3 or 4 bucks that I would potentially shoot out there. The problem is 2 of them I haven't seen since I don't even know when, August or September. The other 2 are still actively showing up. I have 1 cellular camera on that farm. The 1 buck, we call him the Willand buck, after my buddy Mike. He passed him 2 years ago as a 2-year-old, and somehow we started calling him the Willand buck. He is kind of just a scrubby 8-pointer. He is wide. He's got good G2s, good brows, decent mass. It looks like really short beams. Like from the front and the back, he looks awesome. From the side, he doesn't look so good. But I know he's a 4-year-old deer. Would like to shoot him. And then the other deer is another 8-pointer that does not have a name. We kind of haven't really been naming deer all that often anymore. Just kind of lost its luster for us. But this is just another solid 8-pointer, good mass, good brows. I don't think he's going to score much higher than maybe 130. But he's a nice 4-year-old. He's been off camera. I have not seen that deer in probably a month. He just showed up like 2 nights ago on the cell cam, and he's been there twice. So I know that he's back on the farm from wherever he spent a lot of his time rutting around. So those 2 deer. The other 2 deer that I told you had disappeared, one of them we called Cheney, Dick Cheney, because he's crooked. And I believe that I had a picture of him in September in velvet. I'm not 100% sure it was him, but I think it was him, but I have not seen him since. But he runs with this other buck who I think is a 7-pointer maybe. Another just real scrubby rack deer, but a real big body. Those are kind of the 4 bucks on the list. There's a lot of young deer out there that are just running around like crazy. I'm getting pictures of them almost every day, 2- and 3-year-olds. But that's not what I'm looking for on that particular farm. So I don't know, kind of just hoping to luck into one of these big 4-year-olds. Nobody's been deer hunting out there in a while. I haven't deer hunted this farm since probably mid-October. My buddy Mike hasn't hunted it probably about the same mid-October. So very little pressure. The stand that I'm going to sit this afternoon has only been hunted one time this year. So stands right up there. Remember, lifeline. Always use your lifelines. Come on, people. Look how easy it is. Clip. And go. That's it. So easy. Alright, see you guys at the top. It's 3 o'clock on the button, and I am set up and ready to go. This is a stand I put here a couple months ago just for the rut. I usually run a trail camera down in here, and almost every year I get a lot of daylight pictures of bucks cruising through this little pinch point. So let's hope one cruises through here tonight. I got in here nice and quiet. It's like a silent evening. There's almost no wind. What little wind there is isn't the best for where I'm sitting, but it's gonna have to do for tonight because I don't have any other stands anywhere close to this, so we're gonna make the best of it and hope one of those random bucks shows up. Right now, I have no idea what deer that is that I just shot. I look like a big fat 9-pointer, and I'm sorry about the footage, but this farm that I'm hunting is just overrun with buckthorn. You can barely see any 30 yards in any direction, and all I've got trimmed out in front of me is this creek crossing. I saw that deer coming across the swamp to my north. And the minute I saw it cutting across, I knew it was a good deer. So I tried grunting, but he couldn't hear me, so I rattled and I got him stopped and he looked. But he didn't come in, so as soon as he disappeared in the brush, I rattled a bunch more, figuring he was gonna try to loop downwind, and that's exactly what he did. He tried to get downwind. He came straight up through these woods, but usually when those deer come up that trail, they turn and they cross in front of me and give me an open shot, but he just kept coming. And he busted me moving the camera. What I was trying to do was I was looking ahead of him to see where I could shoot through a hole, and I found one. So I was moving the camera into that hole to try to beat him to it so I could get drawn, and he busted me. He turned around to leave the way that he came, but he made the mistake of stopping in a hole about this big. And thank goodness I was able to draw back and squat down and find a spot to stick an arrow through there. He was quartered away pretty hard, but it looked like it buried right behind the shoulder. He did that telltale mule kick when he left. I think I could see the arrow coming out underneath him. I didn't hear him crash though, so I'm gonna hang out here for a while, and then I'm gonna get out of here, and I'm probably gonna go home and review the footage on my computer where I can see it a little bit better. I'm gonna give him some time. I'm 98% sure he's dead, but there's that 2% where you just don't know. So it's cold out right now. There's no need to rush this. So I'm gonna go home, review the footage, call my buddies. Probably get Mike out here with me to track and do the recovery. But man, that's a beautiful deer. I have no idea what deer that is. Never seen him before in my life. All right, well, it's been about a half hour since I shot that deer. So I'm just gonna ease up here, see if I can find blood, and then back out. I always just like to have that first blood while we got daylight. I could see his tracks where he tore off, so hopefully we got something to show for it up here. All right, we got good blood right here. Oh man, really good blood. Right up, going that way. Ooh, that makes me feel good. I don't think he went far. I could probably go find him right now, but I don't know. I'm gonna wait anyway. Sometimes it's just best to temper those emotions. Just wait, but that is a very, very good sign.
Farming is our life.
Hunting is our life passion.
We know that in both, it's what's planted in the ground first that matters.
And that's why we choose Antler King food plot mixes.
Our results speak for themselves.
Antler King, bigger bucks, healthier deer.
All right, well, obviously I am at home just getting ready to leave. It is just after 7 o'clock. By the time we get out there and start getting on the trail, it'll probably be about 7:45, which is 4 hours from when I shot that deer. I came home, looked at the footage. My biggest concern is that at that quartering away angle, I really would have liked that arrow to be back in the rib cage a little bit farther. I think it was a little bit too tucked into the shoulder. So worst case scenario is going to be a single lung hit. If we don't find this deer relatively quickly, we'll probably back out and give him overnight. Best case scenario, and what I think happened, is I probably caught the heart, possibly caught a lot of those veins and arteries and everything that runs in front of the heart. I did find some white hair at the point of impact, which indicates I probably got an exit, even though the arrow didn't go all the way through the deer. I think it went in and then started to come back out as he ran away. So I'm hopeful that it's going to be a short recovery, but you just never know. That's why we're giving him 4 hours. We're also going to be taking the Pulsar thermal imager in there. Man, what a handy tool to have for not just scouting, which is what I've been using it for, but recoveries at night like this, where you can look up ahead, see through the dark, and see if there's an animal possibly alive or bedded, especially in the case of a potential single lung hit. So that's the plan. By the time we get out there, it'll be about 4 hours since I shot the animal. So I'm going to throw on some boots. I'm going to go meet Mike, and we're gonna take up the track, and I guess we'll update you guys from the field. Fingers crossed, it's a nice, short, easy track job. Come on.
Dude, there's bubble right there.
Yeah, I mean, there's white hair here, so it's got So he was bleeding pretty good. Just blood all through here, here. Comes over this log. Here's weird. Oh, right there. Dead.
Oh, yeah. You want to film?
I'm
I
filming.
gotta go see him. I gotta go see him. I'm always excited.
Right in the trail.
Dude, look at the neck on that thing.
That's what I said.
That thing.
That's what I said. That was like one of the biggest deer I've ever seen in my life.
Look at the neck.
He's been dead.
Heck yeah.
Oh, yeah,
neck on that
dude.
thing.
He's stiff.
Holy cow.
Look at that. Pumping out.
Dude, look at that neck. God, he is.
Whew, he's heavy and stinky. All right, guys. Well, here he is. Made a little bit of a better shot than I thought I did. He was pretty hard quartered away. The arrow entered right at about his last rib, and I think it stuck or hit that offside shoulder, which is why I only got about half the arrow into him, but get you a little bit better look. Just a big, old, massive, rutting Illinois whitetail. I tell you what, I've had a lot of success on this farm in particular over the years. Later in November, it's November 22nd. This buck was out tonight by himself, cruising around, and I rattled and grunted, and he came in almost on a string right to the stand. Unfortunately, didn't give me the shot I wanted, but it was good enough to get the job done. So one buck done in Illinois. My next goal is to try to get one late season, but for right now, I'm going to enjoy this evening. We're going to get him cleaned up, get him out of here, and get you a better look at him in the morning. Bowhunt or die, baby. Well, good morning. It is the day after, so today's November 23rd. We got this buck out here doing a couple photos and just get you a better look at him in the daylight. You know, it turns out I do actually know this deer. We've got trail camera pictures of him for at least the last 2 years that I know of, and he's always been kind of just a scrubby, big fat bodied deer. And you know, when he came in last night, I didn't recognize him. He's actually one of the deer that I talked about in my initial interview before I went hunting last night. I incorrectly referred to him as a 7-pointer because I think last year he was an 8 and he broke one off, so he actually was a 7-pointer last year. But in any case, you know, I have not seen this deer since, I want to say, like the first week in September was the last photo we got of this deer on this farm. And that's pretty usual for this guy. He doesn't seem to be a homebody, but he makes his way through here every once in a while. We must just be kind of on the outside of his core area. And, you know, with it being the tail end of the rut, I've always felt like these bucks start to venture a little bit more. So he must have ventured onto the farm sometime in the last day or two. And when I rattled last night, he came in to investigate. And unfortunately for him, he stopped in the one spot that I could actually shoot in that nasty thicket. So I know a bunch of the guys on the team were giving me a hard time because I didn't have any shooting lanes cut to that side of the stand, but in front of the stand, it looks like a bomb went off. I could shoot everything. And that took me several hours of trimming with a handsaw to get that done. So in any case, I will definitely be trimming my stands out a little bit better next year. But man, I am super, super thrilled and happy with this deer. He's just an awesome buck. Very pretty looking deer. I've just got this real gray face with a real dark forehead. You can see he's been rubbing a bunch. I mean, he's not going to score a ton, but man, he's just an absolute brute, mature Illinois buck. Makes me very, very happy to have put a good shot on him. You know, he was pretty hard quartered away. Came in on this side, right at the back of the rib cage. I have a feeling it hit that offside shoulder, which is what stopped the penetration. And like I said, he didn't make it too awful far last night. So for the rest of this weekend, I am on home duty. I got to catch up on some work around the house, spend some time with the family, and then late season we'll get back after it. So appreciate you guys all watching. Bowhunt or die, baby.
All right, If it's not the stash, if it's not this hat, I don't even.
The buck stash, man. You
The
got to
buck
try it out
stash-
one of these
no,
years.
I'm not doing the
When
buck
are you
stash.
gonna grow yours out?
I can't even watch that video the way I would like to because of that darn stash.
Your prejudice. Is that a prejudice
Dude, the
against people with
on
mustaches?
the airplane, they were looking at you like you were.
They were like, check out that guy. He looks
Yeah,
pretty cool with
that's
that
exactly
mustache.
what
is
they were thinking.
Hey, the buck stash. I killed 2 bucks in a week.
True.
With that thing, and I shaved it off. I haven't
True.
killed anything since. So hey,
There you
maybe
go.
it's time to bring it back. But
Dude,
not
I
gonna
mean,
lie, it was
hey,
a pretty
good
nice
buck.
hunt.
And I tell you, it just stinks because the one time, or probably like 4 times now that Brandon doesn't have the video camera rolling, this guy has been whining about this spot for the last 2 years. You know, there's no big buck in here.
There are no big bucks.
Dude,
in
that's
there.
a big buck.
I'm
Anyone
tell-
in the world would
that
think
is
that's a big buck.
I'm not going to say it's not a big mature deer, but the thing is, like, deer on that farm when they get to 4 years old look like that one I shot. Deer on like Tim and Troy's farm when they get to 4 years old are like 160s, right? That's the difference between
got
shooting
the
a
luck.
125 and a 160. They're both the same age, but some deer in some places
Yeah,
just
but
don't hold the
that
genetics.
buck's got a great looking face, just a great looking
No, he's
deer.
a cool deer. I'm gonna get him mounted. He's a super nice buck. I'm very happy with him. One of these days, I just wish one of the deer I shoot is gonna cooperate and walk
Dude.
in the open for
No,
me. I
you
feel
got
like
it.
I watch everybody else's hunts, and the deer are just like in the wide open. The footage is great. Every time I shoot a deer, they come where they're not supposed to, or I don't have a lane or whatever.
Dude,
and
I
it's
think
just
I think you did get lucky. You're lucky he stopped in that window. And
got
I'm not going to
super
talk
lucky.
about that shot. I'm going to let you slide on this one. But that was
All right, so let's see what everyone else thinks. Would you or would you have not taken the shot? He was about 10 yards away. I was 3 sticks high in the ground, kind of sloped up. So he was only 10, 12
don't try
feet
to
down.
make it better for
I'm just
yourself.
trying to lay the groundwork, right?
Oh yeah, let's lay it down.
Hard quartered away. Are you taking that shot? Yes or no? I'm going to guess just about everybody except the people that hate me are going to say that they're taking that shot.
Well-
I would take that shot 10 out of 10 times.
Hey, you know what? Listen, I think one of the controversies people sometimes talk about with those hard quartering away shots, right, especially with mechanical broadheads, they think that sometimes the blades aren't going to produce. And I'll tell you what, there was an example where everything worked perfect. I mean, the reality is that, listen, it was a good shot. The deer didn't go very far. You had an incredible blood trail, and everything performed perfect for you.
Yeah, I mean, the blood trail could have been better, right? Anytime you've got only an
Well, you only got
entrance and
one,
not an exit, like it wasn't great, but it was a stand up, like
You found
blood,
Yeah.
you know, pretty much all the way there. We did end up using the thermal because I kept kind of looking ahead of Mike, you know, and that's the one thing I wanted to talk about with that is with that Axion, there's 2 different models available, the 30 and the 38. You're using the 30,
I was
right?
smart.
Which is a wide angle of view. The 38's a lot more zoomed in,
Yeah.
and mine's great for looking across fields. I can
Distance.
see really far distances, but like that footage we use, that deer's probably close to 30 yards away in that footage that I took, and he takes up the whole screen.
Right.
So you could see just how zoomed in that thing is. But he happened to be on a trail, and you know, every once in a while I was stopping and looking up, you know, just to
why
make
not?
sure that he wasn't there. And all of a sudden, boom, there he is laying 30 yards ahead of us. So man, just a great hunt. I'm super pleased
good
with that. And now it's late season and it's cold, and
I'm 2 doe down.
and you're 2 does behind. So we'll see
Didn't see one yesterday.
what happens. So guys, next up, we are going to do the Ask the Experts section that is brought to you by the folks over at Lancaster Archery. Todd, why don't you read this question?
All right, here we go.
And this is
From
supposed to
Sean
be
Jones.
This is supposed to be sling, not strap.
I got it.
don't know
I'm
why I
with
put
you.
that.
I'm with you. I've never used a wrist sling before, but one of my hunting buddies does. What are the benefits of using one, and how do I make sure it's set up properly? Well, we're going to go ahead and push this right over to PJ Riley, let him answer that, and we'll give our 2 cents when we're done seeing what PJ has to say. Maybe we argue with PJ. We'll just wait to see what
Hey guys, wanted to talk to you today about proper use of a wrist sling. A lot of bow hunters like to have a wrist sling. It's kind of an insurance device. You're up in the tree stand, you got a wrist sling on there. Make sure the bow's not going to fall out of your hand. But what we see a lot is people tend to set the wrist sling way too tight. A lot of guys feel like they need to have it secured to their wrist, so they tend to pull it in tight. Any kind of force that you have on your bow hand is bad. We don't want that. So actually, the wrist sling should be set up nice and loose What we like to see is you can still have that wrist sling on there so that it will still be a security device for you, but it's not going to impede your shot. And so if you'll notice here how I have my wrist sling, it's in there and I've got plenty of room outside my hand. So when I'm shooting, I'm in my shooting position. The wrist sling is actually not pulling on my hand at all. It's just draped across there, but if I were to drop, it's still going to catch my bow. I'm not going to drop my bow. If somehow it came out of my hand, the wrist sling is going to do its job. So we'll take a shot so you can see what it should look like at the shot to make sure it's not too tight on your wrist. So a wrist string, it's a good security device as long as you use it properly. Back to you guys.
Hey, thanks, BJ. That's some great advice. Todd, when it comes to any archery equipment, I think, Sean here did a good job of the question of what are the benefits of using it and how do I use it properly? For me personally, I don't use a wrist sling on my bow. Do you?
No, not
on
anymore.
on your hunting bow. I know I used to. I just got tired of trying to fish my hand into it when I was picking my bow up off the hanger. And I know that somewhere out there, Frank McDonough is going to be watching this show. Frank's one of our brand ambassadors, and he is an archery coach. He knows what he's doing, and he knows what he's talking about. He's been yelling at me for 2 years to use a wrist sling because when I shoot, I grab the bow when I shoot, which can potentially affect your shot. So if you want to be the best archer you can be, you want to use a wrist sling. You want to shoot with an open hand all the time. But like for me in hunting situations, like I'm not talking about hitting a dot at 20 yards. I'm talking about hitting a deer. So if I'm just a smidge off because I'm not using a wrist sling, like that's something I'm willing to personally accept. But I know Frank has yelled at me over and over and over again to use a wrist sling. So if you guys want to use one, follow PJ's advice, set it up right. I definitely think it can help you. So
yeah, well, I just think the technology of bows today, I don't know, they're not as jumpy. I mean, I think when I think back many years ago, dude, I think they did kind of jump out. But man, I don't know, nowadays, I stopped using it because you're 100% right. If a buck does come in and you're trying to get your wrist in there and it's not seated properly, I mean, that can torque the bow if it's just not properly seated.
Well, especially when you start getting a lot of clothing on, it's just, it wasn't for me. But if you want to use one, by all means, have at it. So
they
guys,
make a lot of cool ones nowadays.
They do make some nice ones. So guys, next up, we're going to jump into trophy photos that were sent in for this week's episode. Atlee Nicodemus.
David Yeaney.
Gavin Protzman.
Ron Kempka from Subway. I always bump into this guy at Subway.
Steve Plants.
And Stephen Dearden. Hey guys, as always, these are some great photos. This week is extremely tough. I don't know if Brad was just holding back.
I think they did this on purpose.
They did.
They gave us 6 good photos to pick from.
Here's the deal. All 6 of you can't be winners, right? Everyone just can't be a winner.
No participation trophies here at Bowhunter Die.
And sometimes it works that way. So here's the deal. Steve, absolutely, we both gravitated you as being number 1, but it's the holiday season and we're feeling kind of generous. So there's going to be 2 winners this week, and that's Justin's problem to figure out who the second winner is. So all
right, fine. I'm going with David Yeaney from Pennsylvania. Came down to David and Atlee. You both did a great job, but David, I don't know. I think you did a little bit better, just a smidge.
And I'll tell you what, Atlee, if you hurry up and you email us within the next 48 hours, max 48 hours, then you get a Bowhunter Die hat on me. There you go.
Atlee, got to make sure you email us. David and Steve, email us as well. We'll get you those HS and Buck Bomb prize packs sent your way. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and sending your photos and all that good stuff. We will be back next week. We've got 2 more exciting episodes.
Big time episodes. Big bucks.
No.
Whoa, wait, am I off a whole week?
Yeah, you're way off. Ooh. You're way ahead.
I'm ahead.
We got DeCrew and Fletcher on deck for next week.
We got what we got? So we got a public land.
We got Dustin redeeming himself after the couple mishaps in Wyoming. And then we got Fletcher with a public land, Wisconsin buck.
And 2 more bucks after that. Whew, what a year,
guys.
guys.
And then Tim and Tommy after that.
All right, well.
So we got a lot of shows coming
Till
up.
next time, Bowhunter Die.
I got it, Blaine.